Welcome back to our YouTube channel. We are excited that you're here.
So we've talked a lot about ourselves, and we're excited to transition to what we're really all about, and that's kind of giving you guys some practical tools for living the Christian life and doing the Jesus thing. Specifically in November, we are going to start talking about church. And today's episode is on...
Why church?
Gimme that lovin'. Want you to let me get a cherry on top. I've got this feeling in my chest, the thumping. Gimme, don't stop.
For us growing up in the church, we feel like this is a pretty basic concept that we understand and has shaped our worldview, but we realized that not everyone grew up with that mindset, and so we thought we'd start really basic and just tell you why we think church is really important.
And we're going to start today with 4 big ideas from the Bible that kind of give us this idea or consistent theme of why community, and specifically church, is important for followers of Christ. The consistent narrative of God's story and humanity's story is that we were created for community. And that's really important to remember, because it's very easy as Christians to just not be intentional about seeking out Christian community in the form of church. So again, we're created for community, and I'm going to give you 4 examples of that. So the first thing is that God himself is a community. He is Father, Son, Holy Spirit. He's a Trinity, which is unique to the Christian faith, that God is 3-person in one God. So how can he not create us for a similar need for community? We just know it's woven into our nature, into our fabric as humans. The next place that we see this reality that we're created for community is in the creation account. So right away in the Bible, it opens up with just this mandate that God gives to these new humans he created to take care of creation and rule over the world together. And it's like this immediate partnership you see God create. And then Genesis 2 account, a similar idea. It says that God saw that it was not good for man to be alone, and so God created a helper for him. And the word helper in the ancient Hebrew is Ezer, and this word Ezer is used elsewhere in the Old Testament to describe God as being our help, as being someone who sustains, encourages, and motivates us. A similar meaning of this is in the New Testament, where Jesus says, I will send the helper to you, who is the Holy Spirit. Just as the Holy Spirit helps and sustain us, we in community help and sustain one another. And so from the very beginning, you see that this support system is just crucial to humanity. The third thing is in the Gospels, that Jesus himself modeled so clearly our need for a church community to be together. Jesus never sent people out alone. He always sent them out in pairs to do ministry. His idea was like, you need to do ministry in community. You need to be with people. He had 12 disciples, right? He didn't have 1 disciple, he had 12. And then he had his 100, and then he had his crowds. So everything Jesus did was surrounded with this big theme of community and church and loving and teaching one another. And in Matthew 18, Jesus even describes the kind of power we have to spiritual authority in a church community. He said, when 2 or more are gathered, there I am in the midst of them. As soon as there's 2 people, something spiritually significant happens. And God's designed it that way. That we would be in community. And the fourth thing is the Acts story of the early church. Right away, you see Peter give this awesome sermon, thousands come to Christ, and they immediately start to break bread together and fellowship together and devote themselves to the apostles' teaching and give away their possessions and support one another financially and in pretty much every way. They just give themselves over to this new church community because that's just the nature of our faith, is when we follow Jesus, we automatically are led into community.
I'm going to give you 4 practical examples of why church community is so important here and now. Number 1, encouragement. The church community is a source of encouragement. And when you come into the church, that's a place of deep encouragement where you can feel loved and sent out by the people around you. The second thing is that it's really tough to find Christian community. Church is a really good spot for that. And there are places you can meet people at the gym, you can meet people maybe at work, but if you don't have people in those arenas that are similar to you and have similar interests, it's going to be really hard for you to find friends. So practically, church is a really good place to meet friends who have a lot in common with you and have similar values and morals and similar lifestyles as you. I don't want you to hear that you shouldn't be friends with non-Christians, because that's false, but you do need a sending community. It's important to have that space. The third thing is Church community brings new perspectives. If we sit in our own community, just at our home, and aren't going to church and aren't pushing into these friendships, the likelihood is we're not going to learn as many new things. My non-Christian friends can teach me new things, and my job can teach me new things, but church is a place where you learn at a much quicker pace. You're being taught every Sunday, and that's the bare minimum, is that you're learning from the sermon on Sunday. You can be learning from your small groups that you're a part of. You can be learning from serving in the church. You can be learning from discipleship courses that your church might be offering. I've learned so much from my church, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I wasn't involved and if I wasn't going. The fourth thing that being involved in your church does is it gives you new opportunities within the global church. You get to get plugged in with different ministries that are happening in your city. You get to get involved in missions opportunities. You get to go serve. You can even just go on an Israel trip with your church and learn what the church was a long time ago. You could learn a broader perspective of what the global church looks like because you're involved in your local church. If you want to grow as a Christian, you'll be involved in a church. Being involved in a community is hard and it takes work, and usually it's a little painful to become vulnerable. But being involved in a church is one of the biggest ways that you're going to be able to grow in your faith and in your mission. There are three things that can kind of summarize all of the things we just said. The first is that church is biblical. Community is biblical. The second thing is that church community brings new perspective and it keeps you growing as a Christian.
And the third thing is that while it has benefits and implications for us, church community does not revolve around you. So it's important to keep in mind for our next video when we talk about finding a church or what church. Thanks for watching. Like this video and subscribe to our channel.
And go ahead and comment right now. Tell us what denomination you grew up in or what denomination you currently attend. Comment down below, and we will see you next Thursday when we talk about what church to go to.
Bye.